Over a year ago, I was given a warning dream, and I've talked about it a couple times on my channel. About 8 months ago, I think was the first time I shared it. And then about 3 months ago, I started breaking it down, starting from the beginning of my dream to the end. And then before I could get to the end, God had me take a break from YouTube. And so I did, until I was called back on. And when I was called back on, I was never moved to share anymore until yesterday. I was watching something and someone was breaking down Luke 21:11. And it finally just set a fire, like in my chest. You ever had that feeling, like that burning of I have to talk about the rest of my dream. My warning dream of looking out across a river at what looks like a beautiful sunset. And then suddenly realizing the sunset is destruction and it's growing. And fear is filling me as I'm thinking about my children. And then before I can really think about it anymore, I'm suddenly in a cafe and the lighting is dim. And there's a bunch of people there. Now I cover these little parts in other videos that you can look up. And if I have time, I'll try to put them in the description. But then the climax of this dream is Jesus walks into this cafe and everyone is set ablaze. We're all excited. Jesus is here. And then he's walking towards me. He's walking towards me, looking at me. And he tells me, the giants are coming. And I've told this dream so many times. And I remember just being so giddy, so happy. Here's Jesus, and he's right in front of me, and he's talking to me. That even though what he was saying sounded serious, I just wasn't absorbing it. So he said it again, and he said it very sternly. The giants are coming. And then I woke up. It's been over a year now. I had that dream like mid-May of 2023. And I'm looking at 2024 and all the craziness. And things just keep amping up. And I just feel like I'm waiting for pieces of my dream to come true. And I can't shake that warning. The giants are coming. I have fought with it. I have struggled with it. I have argued with it. What do you mean, Jesus? Are you talking figuratively, symbolically, literally? What are you saying? All of the above? What do you want me to do about it? What kind of warning is this? And then Matthew 24:37. As in the days of Noah. Because I feel like such a warning needs context. As in the days of Noah. And usually when people think of that, they just think of the sin. They think of the sin that was all over the earth. So God decided to wipe it out, except for Noah's family. But I'm going to read Genesis 6 and just listen with new ears, fresh ears, okay? As in the days of Noah. When men began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with man forever, for he is mortal. His days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of men and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. And if you do your research, because this gives it kind of a positive spin, the heroes of old, the men of renown, these were giants. These were feared beings. They weren't like a good hero. You know how there are movies out now that make kind of the anti-hero? That's what these were. They weren't your true hero. These were Nephilim, children created by fallen angels and whatever woman they took as their wife. And they made abominations. Giants. And I mean, it may not be only giants they made. There's other passages that sometimes talk about other creepy things, right? The Lord saw how great man's wickedness on earth had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all the time. And we always focus on that line, but it comes right after the Nephilim were on the earth in those days. And what? Mixing. Fallen angels are mixing with women, daughters of men, and had children by them. And then just keep that in mind as we keep going. So their heart was only evil all the time. The Lord was grieved that he had made man on the earth, and his heart was filled with pain. So the Lord said, I will wipe mankind, whom I have created, from the face of the earth, men and animals and creatures that move along the ground and birds of the air, for I am grieved that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. This is the account of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked with God. And then there are other, if you look at King James, it would say, but Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generations. And some scholars and just people with interest have looked into this. And it sounds like what it is saying is that his family line was clean. It was pure. And when you bounce back up to the beginning of the chapter, it's talking about angels, fallen angels, sons of God, taking women and having children, Nephilim. And right after this happens, evil is overtaking man's heart. So it's like you're getting a picture painted. And then if you get the correct translation of Noah, it wasn't just that he was a good, upright man. He was pure in his bloodline. There was no Nephilim blood in him. So it makes more sense why God chose him and his family to secure in the ark and to wipe out everything that had been tainted, not just by the evil in their heart, but by the corruption of their bloodline. The bloodline God had created in Adam and Eve had become corrupted. Matthew 24:37, as in the days of Noah. Paints a slightly different picture now, right? It's not just that evil's going to overtake the world like we see it doing, but something else might rear its ugly head. And Luke 21:11, I had it broken down in the Greek by someone who's being interviewed, and I can't remember the video. If I can find it, I'll also link it. But let me read it, and then we'll break it down. Luke 21:11. And there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilences, and there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven. This in no way sounds like it goes with what I'm saying, but wait. Fearful sights in Greek is phobitron. And this man said this word in Greek has always and only been used for the word monsters. Monsters. So it's interesting that it was so diluted into just a phrase saying fearful sights, that your mind could fill that in with anything at all, right? But instead, let's read it this way. And there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines, and pestilences, and there will be fearful monsters. Way different meaning, way different feeling. It paints a different picture. And then that last line, and great signs from heaven. He also broke that down. He said that the word prepositioning, I think is the right word, right before that was apoi in Greek, which paints this picture of that something is descending right out of the heavens. And I just think of all the alien talk, UFO talk, and I think of fallen angels. I think of demons. I think of the Nephilim. I think of, as in the days of Noah, that there will be fearful sights. There will be fearful monsters and great signs from heaven, as in something descending right out of the heavens. It paints a different picture. And so when I go back to my dream, and Jesus looking at me sternly, saying, the giants are coming, I have to say he's talking literally, because he's said it before. He references, as in the days of Noah. And when you read it, and you read it with a full knowledge of what it's saying, not just that evil's gonna overtake. Evil has overtaken the world so many times, right? The Tower of Babel, but he didn't destroy all the earth, right? That wasn't the end of times. Sodom and Gomorrah. Evil has overtaken so many times. When the Roman Empire swept over everywhere, that was a form of evil. We've had forms of evil sweep through our world over and over again. So you have to ask, what makes, as in the days of Noah, different, unique? The Nephilim. The fact that those who rebelled against God did a further rebellion. They took something pure that he had made, and they bred with it, and they tainted it. They made their own creatures, fearsome creatures, men of renown, but not the good kind of men of renown. And it kind of makes you wonder where all those myths about Hercules and Zeus and all those things came from, right? Cyclops. Because it said they were then and after. You think of David fighting Goliath. When the Israelites had to take down other giants, King Og, who I think was about 13 feet, they literally dealt with giants. This wasn't figurative. It wasn't symbolic. They literally dealt with giants. Creatures that were never a part of God's bloodline, what he created in the garden. Our enemy has always been insidious, and he's always done everything he can to twist and taint what God has done. Even in our very bodies, our genes, Noah's generations were pure. He and his family were clean. They were going to restart everything. It makes more sense now, doesn't it? Because God needed to start over, but with a pure line, an untainted line, a line that was of his creation. And yes, man has messed up since, and the enemy is still at work. And you still see those Nephilim rear their ugly heads, because David and his men and Moses, all of them, all those Israelites dealt with the Nephilim after the flood. And it was warned. I mean, it said it, right? Let me read it again. Genesis 6. I'll find the verse for you too. This is fun. I mean, it's fun and it's scary, but it's when the Word of God opens up to you and you really understand the whole picture. So it's Genesis 6:4. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward. That's put in there, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of men and had children by them. So it's saying that even after the world was wiped away, there were some afterward. Because if you read carefully, when God did, it said all creatures on the earth. So a lot of people have theories that some of them hid in the earth. The Bible's crazy. I could see why sometimes people, if they really read this stuff, are like, you guys, it's a myth. But this is our reality. And I think sometimes we want to hide from it. It's scary. You guys, I have been like those Israelites shaking in their boots, facing Goliath. I love the story of David and Goliath. And I've watched so many documentaries on it, and I always love how David acts out in faith, not in fear. But I had to come to terms with, I'm not him, or at least I haven't been. I have been like his brothers, shaking in their boots, facing that giant. Because I had that dream, with that warning, with Jesus looking me right in the face. The giants are coming. And all I've wanted to do is whitewash it, dilute it, say it's symbolic, say it's figurative. I don't want to face real giants. I don't want to face fearful sights, fearful monsters, things that may be falling from the heavens. But then it's like, you have little faith. The Israelites, with the help of God, took every single one down. And David, a 12-year-old boy, took down Goliath because of his faith in God. And I watched this one guy, and he said it was because he didn't have self-confidence. He had God confidence. It wasn't about what he was able to do. It was about he knew God could do it. This was God's fight. He was simply God's tool. So you guys, we're looking at end times. You all know it. It's like the #1 thing searched on YouTube. Everyone knows we're facing end times. We just don't exactly know where we are in the timeline, how close we are to the tribulation. But over a year ago, I got that dream. And I have battled it. I've fought it. Knowing deep down that all the time, he meant what he said, literally. He meant what he said literally. And even the New Testament points to that. As in the days of Noah. Go read it. As in the days of Noah. And even after. Acquaint yourself with the stories of giants. And even after. Luke 21:11, and there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilences, and there will be fearful sights, fearful monsters, and great signs from heaven, something descending right out of the heavens. Don't believe all this UFO garbage. More and more people are believing in aliens. I get it, because there's way more sightings happening. But realize, a lot of people are starting to realize it's not alien, it's demonic, it's fallen, it's spiritual. So many people, even non-believers, are realizing this isn't extraterrestrial in the way we think it is. It's supernatural. It's spiritual. And it's kicking up. More and more sightings are kicking up. In fact, I saw a video before I turned this on about something that got sighted, and I haven't watched it yet. Gird yourself. I don't know how long we're here. I don't know what exactly my dream was telling me, because in the order of seeing destruction and then being in a dark cafe and then given that warning, it's an odd chronology for me. Like, will I personally have to deal with the monsters? Will Christians, believers, personally have to deal with the monsters? Or is this a warning to those who are left behind? I don't know. But let's say we're still here. Wouldn't you rather know what's about to come? Wouldn't you rather know what to prepare for? In here, get right, it's not about your weapons. David had a stone and a sling. It isn't about that. It's about here. Because later in Luke 21, I think it's like 25 and on, it talks about how men's hearts stop within them from fearful things they see. And it makes me think of this, fearful sights, fearful monsters. Think of it. Such horrific things are before their eyes. Their hearts are stopping within them. I don't want to be that person. I want to be that person who knew, who was ready and prepared, and who stretched her faith so that when something frightening came in front of me, I could rebuke it. Be like, I knew you were coming. You don't scare me, because my God is bigger. My God is bigger. My God has already defeated you before, and he'll defeat you again. The giants are coming. The chapter, I would say we're in the last chapter of this story we have going, this long story about life on earth before the king rules upon it. We're in that last chapter, and it's exciting. It's exciting, but it's also scary. And if you don't think it's scary, you're not facing it fully. There's a scripture that says, don't look so excited towards the day of wrath, the day of the Lord. You know, it was like a warning. Don't be so eager for the day of the Lord, because it's going to be dark. It is going to be hard. When those dominoes start to fall, those last dominoes all start to fall in place, there's no going back. There's only going forward. But with our faith in him, with our oil lamps filled to the brim, right? Being ready. We talked about this, the 10 virgins. Don't just have a little bit of oil. You need to be ready for the long haul and for whatever you're going to face. You don't know what you're going to face. I feel like this is the time we are spending with him, fueling up, filling up to the very brim and more. That parable said they had extra on hand. It wasn't just their lamp was filled, they had extra. You need to be filling up so much you're overflowing, like the scripture promises. Overflowing and ready with peace and faith and strength and joy in the midst of the storm. Please, if you know more about this, comment below. I'd like to hear more. I've done some research, but I'm always amazed. There's so much more to learn. The Bible is vast. You know, I look at the page numbers and I'm like, what a joke. Because it is not limited to its page numbers. It is vast. The knowledge and the information hidden within. So if you know more about the Nephilim, the days of Noah, the fearful sights, Phobotron, monsters, please comment below, because I am still learning.